Hello and welcome to my free teleseminar about sugar cravings. I'm Alice Ann Millington, the founder of Nova Wellness Counseling. I'm so happy that you could join me today. First, I'd like to introduce myself and my practice. I am a certified Washington State counselor with a master's degree in counseling psychology. I am also a board-certified wellness practitioner and a specialist in integrative nutrition. My practice focuses on emotional eating, food cravings, and weight loss counseling. Please visit my website at www.novawellnesscounseling.com. You will learn how your environment affects your food choices and how your brain chemistry is affected by sugar. You will also discover why you eat even when you're not hungry. You may be one of the many people who struggle with weight loss and food cravings such as sugar. So many of us have been on diets, lose weight only to gain it back. Or you go on a diet, get discouraged, and stop. Why does that happen? The answer is there's so much more to the picture than just going on another diet and trying to follow a list of do's and don'ts. It is important to understand how your emotions, thinking, and eating patterns have stopped you from achieving your weight loss and health goals. The way you feel affects your food choices, and what you eat affects the way you feel. One of the key factors here is food addictions, which lead to other serious health issues such as excessive weight gain, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, just to name a few. To lose weight in a natural, healthy way, I think there needs to be a paradigm shift about not just what we eat, but our relationship with food and ourselves, and how stress affects our appetite and weight gain. In my practice, I help my clients to heal those unhealthy habits related to food and develop healthy eating habits they enjoy. What do I mean by sugar addiction? I use the term sugar addiction to describe a biological occurrence affecting some people who suffer ongoing cravings for foods containing processed sugars and starches. An enormous percentage of women crave sugar. Let's say you start out feeling satisfied after a scoop of ice cream. Before you know it, you need to eat larger quantities to feel satisfied, and you tell yourself that everybody does it and what's the harm? Once we include sugar in our daily routine, it becomes more and more difficult to stop, and this eating pattern becomes our accepted daily norm. Have you ever told yourself that you were finally going to stop eating junk food or sweets, only to find yourself doing so minutes, hours, or days later? For many of us, refined sugars in these processed foods, such as cookies, pastries, and other junk foods, produce a brief emotional high. As a result, sugar becomes the drug of choice. But 30 to 45 minutes later, you find yourself feeling tired, anxious, and brain fog as your blood sugar plummets. If you're trying to lose weight, you may feel guilty, ashamed, or even disappointed in yourself as you struggle with your weight gain, but you keep on doing it anyway. You may write this off as a lack of willpower or discipline, but the fact is that something much more powerful and complex is going on here. A 2008 study conducted at the Neuroscience Institute at Princeton provides evidence that sugar causes changes in our brain chemicals. These changes involve dopamine and opioids and relate to addiction. What are dopamine and opioids, and how do they work in our bodies? Our brains produce chemicals called neurotransmitters. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It controls and regulates our emotional response and behaviors. It plays a major role in our reward system and our feelings of pleasure and feeling good. An opioid is a chemical substance that has an action in the body like morphine. How this works is that dopamine and opioids are involved in motivation and reward, And what they do is they control our wanting and our liking something. The Princeton study found that eating large amounts of sugar provokes a surge of dopamine in the brain, similar to that caused by cocaine, morphine, and nicotine, which we all know is highly addictive. Processed carbs and sugar consumption disrupt the normal levels of dopamine in the brain and creates a rush or high. What this means is that your brain starts to produce less dopamine and needs more and more sugar to get the same high. This may explain one of the reasons why you're eating more when you're not hungry. That's why it's important to control our sugar cravings. In another study, researchers at Yale examined both lean and obese women who had addictive behavior around food. And this study was conducted when their blood sugar levels were low. And what they did is they used MRIs in the study to measure and trace their reactions to images of high sugar foods. Among the people with addictive eating habits, just the sight of a milkshake activated the same pleasure and reward systems of the brain as cocaine. So why is this important to take note of? The anticipation triggers something physiological in the brain. And these food triggers are everywhere we go. They're on TV commercials, in our grocery stores, the list just goes on. And that's why it's important that we retrain our brain and how we make decisions when we're going to try to fight these very strong impulses. You know that old expression, out of sight, out of mind. And indeed, that has a lot of meaning. So if we know that just thinking about a food, anticipating about that food, that's going to cause us to want to eat it, shifting our attention elsewhere is one of the ways of dealing with this anticipation. Our processed carbs and sugars affect the brain in ways that encourage us to overeat. Our brain isn't signaling that we are full. Food combinations like sugar, fat, and salt can make you want to eat even when you're not hungry. Sad but true, 2/3 of Americans are considered overweight or obese, which is undoubtedly related to our sugar consumption. In fact, each person consumes more than 150 pounds of sugar a year. So becoming aware of what is in our food, we can make better choices. But as you can see, it's important to retrain our brain signals that control our eating patterns. Both of these aspects are important in my work with clients. There's natural ways to promote a dopamine high without feeling deprived. My goal is to also strengthen your body's pleasure mechanisms in other ways other than just with food. And what I mean by that is being present with where we are and not trying to change it. And that may sound so unusual for some people, because aren't you there to change? Well, yes, but I also think that we start to change by just accepting who and what we are. And our relationship with food is really a mirror of our relationship with our life. So what are ways that promote emotional eating? Maybe it's in your workplace or unresolved relationship issues or other common concerns like feeling bored or lonely. Our emotions can trigger a cycle of craving, and understandably, we've all been there. I think our emotional impulses are better understood when we take a closer look at how we make decisions around our food choices and the lifestyle that we adopt. This is another central part of my work with clients. But when you fall into the pattern of eating a cookie with caffeine at 3 in the afternoon or even in the late morning, there are major physiological changes taking place in your body. Although food can become a powerful stress reliever, it actually does the opposite. In my weight loss counseling, we have to start by loving our weight off and shifting from our fears, anxieties, and self-judgment. These stressors fuel the emotional triggers. And this way of eating has become a common and accepted practice in our fast-paced lifestyles. new ways to respond to stressful situations is another area I focus on in my practice. We explore ways to listen to your own body's wisdom to diminish cravings, lose weight, and transform your health. To help break this craving cycle, it's easier when you eat the right types of sugar and not feel at all deprived. Rather than completely getting rid of your treats altogether, replace them with healthy food choices. But I'd like to summarize it by saying that my focus is finding the positive attributes within each of us rather than labeling and condemning a list of problems that need to be fixed. We don't need to be fixed. We need to flourish. In counseling, you'll be given my undivided attention and support in our work together, and my approach is always tailored to your individual needs, goals, and concerns. I believe that when you nurture and apply your positive qualities, you succeed both now and in the future. I offer private sessions. I'll be happy to talk with you and explain more about my program if you're interested. I've learned in my years of study and my work with clients that food is more than just what you place on your fork. It's a gateway to explore the deeper part of you. I'd love to hear from you. To schedule your first free consultation, if you're interested, you can call me at 206-733-0349. Or please visit my website at www.novawellnesscounseling.com and go to my contact page, and there you're able to leave a message in the box with your name and your contact information. I'd enjoy hearing any of your questions or comments that you might have. Thank you so much for listening.